So spiritual revelations, we got there eventually, David.
Yes, indeed, yes.
Tell us more about the Kabbalah and how you discovered spirituality.
Well, it's really strange how once you take this kind of spiritual jump, you realise that it's not really what happens to you; it's how you react to it. And even before I'd taken the spiritual leap, they clearly tried to mess me up because we had to submit a book to them. We couldn't get it out, otherwise they'd just put me in prison again. So we needed their permission. And they wouldn't actually ban it, they just said we haven't given permission yet. So this went on for 15 months. And in that time, I was looking for something to do, and I just started reading loads of esoteric stuff. And by reading esoteric stuff, I saw lots of mentions of Kabbalah. And so I thought I'd have a look at this. And I've always been somebody who's been open to ideas, basically. The reason I've never been interested in religion or spirituality before is I'd read too much sort of New Age bollock stuff and not enough real stuff, you know. And it was just, I think at the time in my life as well, because I was trapped in fear and anger, I really needed something else at that point. And it worked. I mean, the thing about Kabbalah is it starts off not by saying you must believe this set of rigid rules. It says exactly the opposite. It says that, you must, don't believe what we're saying, go and test it for yourself. So I did, and it seemed to work. It seemed that suddenly by doing positive thought and meditation, I could in some small way change the world. What I find fascinating about this is just how far does it go? And I've got to tell you the story about the UEFA Cup final because I feel as if this is part of my kind of mission to get this off my chest. And all I can say to people, I will tell people the facts of this story. And all I can say to them is that they can take it as they wish, basically. But I have to explain that Middlesbrough are not a particularly fashionable club. They're a club that in the past would crumple with a change in atmospheric pressure. You know, they just had no backbone or anything. So they had very loyal fans, but it never seemed to quite take off, basically. And this began at the beginning. It began at the end of the 2004-2005 season. At the last game of the season, Middlesbrough playing at Man City. They've got to draw to get into the UEFA Cup. And all the other games that season are finished. They go to the City of Manchester Stadium. It's one each. And I think, it's going to be all over. And they say, no, we've got a last-minute penalty in Man City. And this is one of the first examples I had of this, where not even thinking about it, I almost subconsciously went into the meditative state for absolute certainty this goal wasn't going to go in the back of the net, and the keeper saved it. And I was slightly kind of like, woo, that's a bit, but then you think it's just coincidence, whatever. But then I went to I was watching the second leg on television in the last 16, so we're playing way above our normal standards here. Playing away in Rome, we went 1-0 up, but then we had all this kind of evil eye stuff. They scored a very dodgy goal, a very dodgy penalty given against us. And there was 30 minutes of them bombarding our goal, but at the same time I was doing absolute certainty they weren't going to score, and they didn't. So this is like another part of the picture, but nothing conclusive. Where it gets really interesting is in the quarterfinals, where we're 2-0 down off the first leg. I go to the game, so I'm actually there. Within 20 minutes, we've gone 3-0 down. So this means we have to score 4 goals under the away goals rule to go through. I can't remember Middlesbrough ever came back from 2 down before. I just thought, this is it. I'm going to kind of make something I believe happens. I mean, if this really does happen, let's do this. Let's see this as an opportunity to really think positive thought can work. And I went into this meditation mainly for unconditional love, and so I was tapping into 30 years of unconditional love for my football team, which is quite strange, but that was there. And obviously tapping into the positive thought of 30,000 other people. But just in the past, what we hadn't done was connect to the light, and this is where we connect to the light. And there was just this terrible inevitability about it in this particular game. The Middlesbrough surged forward time and time again, and eventually, in the last minute, we scored and we won 4-3. And I actually touched the light. Reality pixelated. I went to white light, then reality pixelated back again, only a few seconds. And that was a miracle enough, I thought. But then,
ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to reiterate that this was football and not mescaline.
and well, it was, but this is it. I mean, I've obviously experimented, shall we say, with consciousness and the effects of the various chemicals on consciousness, and this was in the past when people said to me, oh, you can get higher without drugs, I never believed that, and I now come to the conclusion that in some ways you can get higher without drugs. You get into that trance-like state. It really is like nothing else. But the thing about this interesting story is that it gets more interesting because in the semi-finals we're only 1-0 down for the first leg, and so everybody thinks, oh, we've got a good chance. I go up to the game. And of course, they scored twice in the first 20 minutes. So we're 3-0 down after the 20 minutes of the second leg. And this was the real test. And I thought, let's try and do it again. And I did it for unconditional love, for miracle making. And it wasn't really working. And suddenly, from nowhere, I got this idea that we were had the evil eye put on us. So I started to remove the evil eye, and within a minute of doing this, we scored, which just absolutely hit me. And as a former rationalist, it was like, I kind of believe I'm doing this, but I don't want to believe this. It's just too much, It's like you're shown the light, and it's almost too scary to even go there. But even then, I had to carry on doing this, and I got to 3 each about 5 minutes later. We had a long time to score the fourth goal, and at one point, it really didn't look like it was coming. They got back into the game. And so it was, again, quite heavy meditation, thinking, I've got to believe sort of thing. And lo and behold, in the last minute, we scored again, 4-3. And at that point, I kind of blacked out. I don't really know what happened. I went somewhere else. Came back to the ground, sort of, there I am cheering. And at this moment, the Middlesbrough fans start cheering, E-I-O, 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 which is a Kabbalistic chant. It's the name of one of the names of God. And it's the name of God for great expectations. And the Middlesbrough fans have done this for years. And of course, I didn't know this before I got into Kabbalah.
Right, I've heard E-I-O somewhere before.
It's the Druidic chant as well, of course. Yeah. And that's what I find, the sound of actually, supposed to be the sound of the spheres, interesting enough. So I'm in this moment where I've just come down for this meditation, where we've run this thing again. And I hear the Middlesbrough crowd chanting the Kabbalistic chant or the Druidic chant without even knowing what they're doing. It's sort of kind of whole mental thing about the light and everything. And the next day after this, I really just, I was kind of numb. I couldn't really express myself. It was like the whole universe had seismically shifted, that this was possible. I'd been shown that I could perform miracles through positive thought, as long as I have the light. And then you think, well, you can translate that to so much. So my life has now completely changed. And of course, the question people will say is, well, why didn't you win the final? And of course, I went to the final, I arrived too early, and I got drunk, and alcohol cuts out the light, basically. And that's why I lost the final. But fortunately, because of Kabbalah, I have no guilt either.
You heard it here first. MI5 football, the fix is in.
Okay, so I don't know where to begin after that. Well, yeah, I'm glad you did reveal that story to us now, actually. Okay, if you have a single message about Stonehenge or Britain's trees, what is it?
If I have a single message about Stonehenge or Britain's trees, it's save them and use them. Don't abuse them.
Short but simple, and usually the most powerful sentiments.
I do sound bites. Yeah. Remember, I'm the druid that kicks ass. I'm not the druid that gets up there and waffles for 3 hours unless there's a point to it.
I meant you do short and simple.
Yep. Yes, we also have present another loyal Arthurian war battle chieftain, warband battle chieftain, Susanna, the only female battle chieftain within the loyal Arthurian warband, and she's cheeky to the king on a frequent basis. And David, if you have a single message about 9/11, what is it?
This is a great opportunity to change the world, basically. We shouldn't get depressed by this. You should see it exactly opposite. It's so easy to expose this. We can do that, and we can create a change in consciousness, because everybody thinks they know about 9/11. When they realise they've been lied to, they'll realise they've been lied to about a lot of other things.
And Susanna, have you got any thing you'd like to add to the discussion?
I opened the book in my lap at this point, and I opened it at. After that, things started to get really strange. Tim Sebastian, who you now know as the Archdruid of the Secular Order of Druids, came out very agitated. "I've had it with your fucking warband," he said to Arthur. "Orc has just gone off with my tobacco." He was so angry that he took his staff, which had a crescent moon on the top, laid it on a step and stamped on it. It broke with a healthy sounding crack. The joke here is that Tim regularly breaks his staff and then bandages it up with a pink scarf in between. So he wasn't really breaking his staff, he was making a dramatic gesture.
That's what I love about Druidry, the theatre. Yes, well, yeah, I would like to say thank you very much, David, and thank you very much, King Arthur Pendragon.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure, hasn't it?
Thank you.
My pleasure, definitely, guys.